Hello and welcome back. Aprilia just announced a bike that could be a real game changer for the 2022 mid-range adventure motorcycle segment. We've collected so far all the available details about this bike, so make sure to stick around until the end of the video to find out everything about this bike. First, let's shortly make a briefing regarding the specs of the Aprilia Tuareg 660. We have a APRC technology, which means a pure off-road performance, sports technology 4 riding modes, 2 of which are customizable, 1 dedicated to off-road riding. ABS can be deactivated at both wheels or only for the rear wheel. APRC system complete with traction control, cruise control, engine map and engine brake. All accessible via the high visibility 5-inch TFT screen. There is an off-road suspension, greater travel, no compromise. A 43mm fork and progressive linkage monoshock, both with long 240mm travel. The engine is redesigned. There is a new behavior, same 660 character. The parallel twin engine now delivers a maximum power of 80 horsepower, peak torque of 70 Newton meters, and a significantly boosted low mid-range curve. The sump reduces the vertical footprint for a ground clearance of more than 240 millimeters and a seat height of less than 860 millimeters. The frame and suspension, the feeling that makes the difference, the Tuareg 660, it's faithful to Aprilia chassis tradition, synonymous with excellence thanks to a new tubular steel frame coupled with aluminium brackets and connected to the engine at 6 points, a wheelbase of just over 1500 millimeters, and a careful distribution of weight as centralizing of masses. The Aprilia 660 has a dry weight of just 187 kilos, and the Tuareg sets a benchmark for the sector in terms of lightness. Aprilia engineers have shaved off every possible gram, equipping the Tuareg with all the adventuring essentials, starting with a generous 18-liter fuel tank. The Aprilia 660 platform has already written the rules of the road and will now do the same for the off-road riding. The Tuareg 660 incorporates all the exceptional features that have made the RS 660 and Tuono 660 so successful. The Tuareg's engine has been tweaked internally for more low mid-range power, which should help when tackling trails plus ferrying luggage. However, could sacrifice a little at the top end. Peak power now sits at 78.9 brake horsepower. On top of this, you also get a 4 riding modes with 1 customizable on-road and off-road setting. All operated via the 5-inch color TFT dashboard. Also included is traction control, cruise control, multiple engine maps and engine braking control. Cradling the twin-pot engine is a tubular steel frame that uses the motor as a stress member, connecting to it at 6 points. Bolting out to this is a set of 43mm USD forks plus a progressive linkage rear shock, both offering 240 millimeters of travel and some level of adjustment. For added poise off the beaten track, the ABS can also be deactivated at either end. This is shrouded by minimalist bodywork that appears to feature LED lighting plus a high-mounted exhaust less likely to collide with off-road obstacles. The fuel tank has 18 liters, which should see it cover big miles between fill-ups thanks to the proven frugality of this mid-size twin-cylinder engine layout. A seat height of under 860 millimeters, that's 15 millimeters lower than the Yamaha Tenere, should also make it fairly accessible to a broad spectrum of riders. The Tuareg has a 20-inch front wheel and a Pirelli Scorpion STR tires. There was adjustable suspension front and rear, tubeless cross-spoke wheels in off-road friendly sizing of 21 and 18 inches, and a long narrow seat. At the front, LED headlights form Aprilia's signature 3-light design between a nicely sized windscreen. Behind that, a 5-inch TFT dash, tapered handlebars, and tank that looks capable of holding some decent range. The Tuareg is powered by the same 659cc liquid-cooled DOHC parallel twin found in the RX 660 and Tuono 660. The differences are small and concentrated in the top end of the engine. The valve train features specific valve timing, lift, and duration to coax more torque from the engine and lend the bike an adventure-friendly character. Longer intake funnels from the overhead airbox give the Tuareg more torque. In terms of actual changes to the engine architecture, there are two. The oil sump is flatter to increase ground clearance, though oil capacity does not change, and the mounting points of the engine to the frame has been increased from 3 on the RX 660 and 2 on the Tuono to a total of 6 on the Tuareg. 2 of them use a forged bracket at the front of the engine attached to the cylinder and cylinder head. The swing arm pivot is the third mounting point, with the 4th and 5th above and below on the rear of the engine. The 6th and the last is on the back of the cylinder head, tying it to the frame with a triangular steel plate. There are 4 rider modes: Explore, Urban, Off-road, and Individual. Will be tied to a specific traction control and ABS settings with power delivery tailored to each of the 3 present modes. Individual mode allows the rider to set their own throttle response, traction control, and ABS. The chassis is where the Tuareg sets itself far apart from its 660 powered siblings. Rather than a twin-spar aluminum frame, Aprilia has fitted its adventure bike with a steel tube and plate frame, which in turn incorporates a welded subframe. The decision to use steel came from the need to make the frame thin and light while providing the proper torsional and longitudinal flex character for adventure riding. This frame design also took the fuel tank into consideration, as fuel capacity had to be in the 18-liter, which means 4.8-gallon range, and to achieve that they needed the space between the top frame tubes and subframe structure for the tank and the centrally located airbox. A chunky aluminum frame would eat up too much space. The resulting bike would be too wide. The fully adjustable Cayaba suspension is employed at both ends. Progressive rate springs are used in the 43mm upside-down fork, which the piggyback rear shock is attached to a cast aluminum swing arm via linkage. Travel at both ends is 240mm, which means 9.4 inches, a sweet spot for allowing off-road capability and the street performance that Aprilia says is important on any of its models. The goal for the Tuareg 660 was to create the best all-around enduro European for adventure motorcycle and dual sports, putting the target right between Yamaha's Tenere 700 and KTM 890 Adventure R. The right mix of power, weight, suspension travel, and cost will be crucial to the success of this new model. What about the weight? It's 187 kilos dry. That's 412 pounds before fluids, fuel, and battery. The braking duties are handled by a dual 300mm rotors matched to Brembo 4-piston calipers in the front and a 260mm disc with a single piston caliper in the rear. Tuareg is going to be a real option for those looking at a Tenere and Adventure 890R. It has the power, chassis, and ergonomics needed for a worthy adventure mount. Let's speak a little bit about the price range. From our research, we've heard that this bike could cost around $11.5 thousand. With this price range, Aprilia can really make a difference in the adventure segment, considering that the Tenere cost 10,000 euros. The KTM 890R can cost around 1,250 euros. So we have perhaps Aprilia Tuareg 660 with a price range on about 10,000 euros, which is a great price for this package. Now it's your turn to let us know what are your thoughts about this bike. Please use the comment section down below and tell us your opinion about the 2022 Aprilia Tuareg 660. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.